Hey, everybody, welcome in. We're just starting our stream here. You've got Dave Pendergast, Dave Edwards, Tucker Hodgson is here live in our office or in my office. And Janie from our board is joining us on YouTube, as so is Grant. They're both joining that way as well. We'll try and keep this short for everybody. We appreciate everybody coming, especially on short notice. We've had a lot going on, and we're anxious to give you the update that we can. Let me go ahead and share my screen here so people can see. Okay, is it looking okay over there, Pendergast?
There's a delay, so I haven't seen it come through on the screen yet.
Okay.
Can someone in chat give us a thumbs up if you're getting the feed correctly?
And hopefully the YouTube link is working. I think I did it right. Oh, looks like it is working. Okay.
Yep, we're in now.
Okay, everybody, let's go through just a couple of announcements. Again, just to review, we did shut down the resort here in August to preserve capital after some of our partners, some of our longtime owners and our management company said they were no longer going to support the resort. We've been trimming down expenses between now and then, keeping the asset in good condition. The majority of the professionals we've talked to, including our real estate broker, who we'll tell you about tonight, have recommended that we preserve these assets as much as we can to keep them in good condition. The resort right now is turnkey. Someone could reopen the resort. We just think we need to turn on the water to the rest of it. The only thing that's being currently maintained right now with heat, power, and water is the community center. So
the community center, if you, just as a reminder, we had flood damage in the community center. And in order to continue to pay operations and not have to make an assessment to the owners, we took the flood insurance payment and have used that money for operations. So there is some flood damage in the community center that would need to be repaired. The amount that we received from the insurance company was about $100,000.
Yeah, that money has gone forward for operations. It's allowed us to not have an assessment or any more special assessments to the owners. So it really has worked out for everyone pretty well. We're continuing to check on the resort. We have people up there all the time, making sure that things are going well and there's no problem with it. The experts have told us that we have 2 properties to sell and they should be sold together. Naturally, we have the resort with all of the condominiums. We also have the Big Dig property, the development property that's there just by the resort that would also sell together. Now we have 32 condominium units in our resort with 52 weeks, so that's 1,664 interests in our timeshare. And of those interests, hopefully on the stream, you guys know that how that will work. Everybody, we'll talk about that as we move on as well. The highest value for the resort, again, is to sell both of the parcels. The development parcel that we co-own with Big D Construction and Rob Moore together with the resort. We have had an appraisal done on the resort. We have a value of that resort. We also have some professional opinions that have come through. And we've had some strong interest from people who want to buy the resort. To that end, we have signed with the real estate broker. His name is Richard Bird. You see his picture there up on the screen, hopefully. Richard is an agent who specializes in this. He's been invaluable to us. We contacted Richard just as we were, just as we knew that something was going to happen. He's given us advice for almost a year now about valuing the resort and helping us, giving us advice about maintaining the asset and pretty much everything about market conditions as well. So we're grateful for Richard. Now, here's a few other new things that we want to talk about, and that is what are the priorities of the board in selling the resort? So I think I'll turn some time over to Dave to talk about what our goals are and how we're trying to preserve as much as we can for you owners.
Right. Once we knew that we had to close the resort and we were going to proceed toward a sale, it's really no different than we've approached everything for as long as I've been on the board, as I was brought along and moved up to board president. But our key decision making every time we look at an expenditure or anything else, is what's the best result for the owners. How are we going to minimize risk to the owners? Avoiding any fragile contracts with this process. Maximizing the real profit for every owner is our key goal, meaning every dollar that we can get in this sale that can come back to the owners is our priority. To that end, I would just remind you that normally I think most places would have hired a company to do what we're doing and managing ourselves as the board, which is unwind the resort, deal with the unwind processes, finding a title company, going through these things. And the reason that we've moved that direction was about getting money back to the owners. Because the sad story that we hear, or at least anecdotally hear from others that have unwound, is that the very little is left for the owners after the unwind company gets manages the resort for multiple years during the unwind processes. If you remember, we were paying approximately $10,000 a month just for normal management, and then when you look at what the unwind processes would be with title fees, et cetera. So our goal was to minimize all the fees that we could possibly minimize, try to handle this ourselves as a board to try to return the greatest return to the owners at the end of the day. One of our primary goals has been to try not to have to assess during this process. Try everything we could do, such as taking the money from the flood damage and using it for operations, to avoid having to come back to the owners and ask for more money during this process, where we're all dealing with disappointment that the resort had to close. We're dealing with we've lost a place to go, and yet we haven't been paid out for that to take money to go somewhere else. It's not a pleasant process for anybody, especially those of us with long-term family memories and family connections and skiing connections, et cetera, to the resort. But we're hoping to have enough funds in the sale process, from the process of selling the two together, from the sale of the development property or the big dig, to be able to fund the unwind of the rest of the property, meaning all the title costs, all the legal costs. And again, we anticipate this being a 1 to 2 year process, involving foreclosures that are expensive, potentially quiet title actions, legal actions. And it's a form of a lawsuit, a quiet title action to clear titles to property, very expensive processes. Our goal was to make sure that we could fund those processes outright. We just kind of wanted to step back through those processes and talk to you. This is the goals, really, again, to reiterate everything that we're trying to do as a board. And we're pretty much in unison on everything in the decision-making process. We tend to talk things out for quite a while and work on them before we make a decision, but we've been unanimous in every decision so far that we've made regarding the sale of the resort, across all the different board members and different backgrounds. Tonight, we did not really have a lot of content for you that would be new, but we committed to you to be better communicators and to come back and have a meeting and at least go back, and as Tucker did, step back and make sure owners that haven't been able to attend one of these town halls at least got a glimpse of how this process came about, where we are with moving from all of a sudden we're excited, we're going to renovate and renew the resort. We had a path to a future, to all of a sudden the rug was sort of ripped out from under us, and all of a sudden we're shutting the resort down. It was a complete 180 degrees from where we thought we were going, and all the processes and decisions that have come now to where we're moving forward with trying to sell the resort. We'll try to answer any questions. We'll have a question and answer period in just a few minutes. But Tucker, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, we did want to review some of the collection practices and things like that we have as an ownership group, and to just go lightly over some of these things that we've talked about previously. One of the things that people ask is, what is the big dig? I think we've gone over that pretty well. It's the hole in the ground, basically, on the north end of our property. That has previously been approved for 30 condominium units. Again, the association owns that property with Rob Moore, along with the water for that.
Big D.
But with Big D, thank you, Big D Construction. And Big D, Rob continues to be a valuable partner with us and has been working with us to sell that property so we can, again, fund our operations and fund our wind down together with the resort. So let's answer some questions about, how do I know if I'm current on my bill? So here's the definition of being current. You're current on all of your regular assessments The last time we billed maintenance fees was November 2023. That was for the year 2024 use. And then if you have made a special assessment payment, that special assessment was talked about for years and years, and we made it. We assessed it for this 2024 last year, and it was due by the end of April. Before the end of April, if you've made a payment, we allowed you to break it up. If you've made the first $700 payment before then you are considered current. If you did not make that payment on time, we waited 6 months really before we started to increase interest rates and things like that for those who hadn't made the payment. If you didn't make that payment by April, the first $700 or the whole thing, there's a number of owners that paid the whole thing, that entire amount is now due and accruing interest. So the total amount of the special assessment was $2,800, and that is accruing now at 24% interest.
I've had a couple of emails that indicated there was some confusion. One of the emails said, I was instructed not to pay my special assessment. Well, those instructions or anything that came was by the time that we even engaged in any conversations about the special assessment beyond when it was issued. Anyone who hadn't paid it by July 31st, when we shut the resort down, was already in collections. You're already over 90 days overdue on paying your special assessment, that first 700. There was a message that went out and said, do not pay any additional monies because you're not going to have to make those year 2, 3, and 4 payments. We're stopping where we are right now, but you have to be current on the 700 to be a current owner. And I want to make sure there's no confusion about that. We were very clear in the messaging that no more payments beyond the initial $700 that was due. If you paid the $2,800, great, but that there wasn't going to be following assessments until we as a board could look at, the special assessment was done because we're not refurbishing anymore. We voted to use this funds from the special assessment to continue operating until we figured out what was going to happen with the resort, hopefully at that point to reopen it. So there are people who did not pay, decided not to pay the special assessment. Before we ever closed the resort, they were already in collections, meaning they're already 90 days overdue, which automatically goes to collections for us with our management company at that point. And those people who were indebted and have not become current, to reiterate what Tucker's saying, they just continue to accrue interest. And ultimately, we will be foreclosing on everyone that owes us money before we can complete the sale of the resort. Meaning, we'll make a deal with someone, and then the process of unwinding and clearing titles will be lengthy. We're estimating, again, 12 months to 2 years. But at the end, everything will be foreclosed upon by that 1 to 2 year period, so that we have clear titles and can provide clear titles to the new owner of the property. Which puts us sort of in a tough place, meaning if you owe us money, you either need to come current or we have to foreclose upon you. The only other option is if you just want to give us your week back so that we can move forward. We're not in a, there are quite a few, there are about 300 weeks that are delinquent that owe the association money.
That was before the special assessment. There are about 300 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, and that number's. I'm sorry it slipped my mind what the total number of weeks is that are not current, meaning intervals or weeks, who owe the association money. In other words, these are owners who just haven't paid either the special assessment or assessments. Some people, there are quite a few that owe us between $5,000 and $10,000. Some much higher. That ultimately, like I say, we will foreclose upon those weeks so that we get them back as owners, and when we sell them, the proceeds will be divided among the owners that remain existing. So if you own a week now and you're foreclosed upon, there will be no proceeds going to you after a sale is completed. We do have one other, I think I'll talk about the division of funds.
Yeah, let me go over this real quickly before we go over that, Dave.
Thanks.
We've had several questions about, well, I've been an owner for 30 years and I'm sympathetic to that because I've been an owner for nearly that long as well. And I've been building equity in the resort. I deserve an equity payment. Now, if we were talking about regular real estate, that would be true. With the timeshare, though, your funds, your special assessment funds or regular maintenance fees don't go toward equity. They go toward your use that year of the resort. It's not an equity building. It's not an equity building thing. It's a right to use. And we know that we've shut down the resort and taken that right to use. But again, if you're not current on your assessments, that doesn't mean you have equity. Okay, if you are current on your assessments, then you are entitled to a portion of the proceeds when the property is sold. That's true, but it's not a typical equity situation. Again, when you own a timeshare, it's for right of use, not toward the whole value of the property. Nothing like that. All right, Dave. I think that.
Yeah, like I said, if you have questions, again, please go ahead and put them in the chat for us. We'll get to those in a few minutes. And certainly, if you have questions about, just to reiterate again, if you have questions about are you current, those kinds of things, please email us at powderridgevillageut@gmail.com, and we'll show that again. Or go to our website; you can see the information there to get questions about your particular situation answered. We've been responding to several owners. And we've had several owners recently that have come current and send us checks to get current and to be part of the sale. And we can't thank you enough. That money is vital to us as we continue just to try to pay the monthly bills and get through this process. There was one point of clarity. We had a couple of owners talk to us. We told you that at the outset of this, it was an off the cuff. We told you we hadn't had time to didn't want to pay to research where we were with how funds would be divided and if there was a sale, because we didn't need to know because there wasn't a sale. I didn't want to pay the legal fees just to get that information. Well, we know there's a sale, and we did reach out to our attorney and asked for the answers to several legal questions that we needed as we were working forward with this process. But one of them was how the division of funds is legally set up in our documents.
Now, I want to break in here and just say, remember, the members of the board, we didn't create these documents. These were created long before most of us were on the board, and we're a volunteer board. So we're the messenger here, and we need to follow what's outlined, follow the Utah code, follow what's outlined in our documents. That's our role. Again, we're fiduciaries for all of the owners, and this is what our documents say that we have to do. Anyway, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, and if anybody had questions, our documents were actually created by Ballard and Spar in Salt Lake City, and I believe about 2000. The year 2000 is when our governing documents and all those things were created. But back to that question of how are funds distributed, because everybody wants to know what do I get? What's my portion look like? A 1-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom versus a 3-bedroom. Initially, we were told we believed that they were just going to be blocks. Each interval would be the same. That's not correct. The distribution of funds is by square footage. It's spelled out clearly in our documents, and we'll provide that documentation as needed on our website at some point here. It's spelled out in our documents that each, in the event of a sale, any of the value of the property is distributed by square footage. So a 3-bedroom has more square footage than a 2-bedroom. And there are 2 levels of square footage of 2 bedrooms. And whatever your week was titled to as a 2-bedroom is tied to that square footage. And then there's the 1-bedrooms. So what you would see, to the best way I could simplify this for you, is as the process completes, foreclosures will happen, and people who are in arrears, their ownership will all come back to the resort. So you and I, as the owners that are current, would then own all of the weeks together in a group. And that would compile those weeks that aren't owned. The funds from there just becomes part of a pool that's divided. So we have this pile of money, and how do we divide it? Then we take all of the owners that are current, and we figure out the total square footage of
all
of the resort ownership, meaning everybody that owns a 1-bedroom with that square footage, everybody that owns a 2-bedroom in 1 square footage, everybody that owns a 2-bedroom in the 2nd square footage, and everyone who owns a 3-bedroom week. And we total up the total number of square footage that's owned and divide that number into the sale price or the remaining funds after the sale is complete. And yes, after we disperse funds for the portion of special assessment that will be refunded to everyone. That number, the square foot, will be divided into the price, and we'll come up with $1 per square foot amount that's paid to you for the exact square footage of what you owned or your interval. And hopefully that was as clear as mud, and there'll be no questions about it whatsoever. But there is a formula. It is written. It's nothing that we're creating or that your board has any guesswork on. It was just the attorney coming up with the language, doing research, finding language in our documents, and saying this is how it has to be done. And again, all that'll be public and published as we move farther into the process. Hopefully that helps answer some of the questions. I've had multiple people asking me, have we learned yet how that funds will be divided? So again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And
Do you want them now or do you want?
Tucker, do you want to go through any of the other slides? Or I think most of what we've done to now is catch you up with where we are very quickly and where we are in the process, and open a line of communication. If we're ready for questions, I can start to.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
We have one
some questions.
question. I paid a second $700 in November on the 24th to Capital Vacations. Will I get credit for that?
You will get credit for that.
Yeah.
One of the other things is Capital Vacations is no longer accepting payments for anything, as we've shut them down. We ended our contract with them in November, at the end of November. We were able to successfully close that door to avoid paying them any more fees as we started through the process, meaning to drop our monthly outgo by $10,000 or more a month. Any payments that you need to pay to become current now, you can get information from us by emailing us about what those numbers are, but you'll also then just need to send it to our PO box, or we have the ability to take a payment on Square, and we can set that up if it's needed. Does that answer the question?
That answers the question. We also have a comment. Thank you. Good to know about the funds being divided per square foot. So,
Yeah, that does answer a lot of questions.
yeah.
As we move forward, I want to talk about process for just a little bit, and this is the same for pretty much everybody right now. As we know, we're working on a shoestring budget as a board, and as we start to move the titles into the board name, and if you're going to deed back to the board and avoid a foreclosure, that is certainly an option. We can send you the forms to be able to do that. So our email address to do that, it will be up here in just a minute. We're asking that you pay for document preparation and recording fees for each of these things. If it's a deed in lieu of foreclosure, if it's just, hey, I'm current, but I want to be done and wash my hands, or if it's a deed for equity, we're asking that you pay for the recording fees. Now, they're not very much, right? Recording fees of the county per document is about $40 or $50. And then the document preparation fees that we've negotiated with the title company are $25. So, for $75, that's the cost for most folks. It might be a little bit more, a little bit less, might be a little bit more if there's multiple documents to record. For example, if you've had a death of a co-owner or something like that, then there'd be an additional recording fee to the county for that. But we're asking for that. Again, the board just doesn't have the money right now to pay for everybody's recording fees. And if we're letting you out of debt of your obligation, I think it's a pretty good trade to pay us $7,500 for a $2,400 or more forgiveness of those funds.
$75.
$75, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, $7,500 for $2,400.
Sorry, $75 for $2,400 forgiveness. I think that's a pretty good deal. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't want to cut
More
you off.
questions?
We have, yes, one more time. Who do we contact to see where we are as owners as far as fees owed, or if we are owing anything? Website, phone numbers.
It's email. We'll show it here again. Is it on the screen now?
Yeah, I just threw up on the screen. Hopefully you can see it. Our screen
Powder
is
Ridge Village UT at gmail.com. You can make a request there. We'll do the research, find out where we are, and come back to you. And then we're able to look at your individual if you think there's an error. We have the records from Capital Vacations of VRI, meaning they've exported the documents to us so that we can see them, and we're tracking that in our own system now. But the website has that address on it as well that you can go to and look at the instructions on how to get information. And my phone number, as you know, is posted everywhere. You can always reach out to me if you have a question or you can't get an answer. You can call me.
If you have questions about the state of your ownership, you can email me. Now, I'm a bit behind on those emails because I'm working on the titles of the resorts still, and there's only a certain amount of hours in the day. So I'm kind of giving priority to folks who want to do a deed in lieu of foreclosure or a deed back to the resort. But we'll answer those questions as quickly as we can. And I try to email a response for every email that I get. And again, I know I'm behind, but that's something we would like to do. More questions, David?
Yeah, well, just thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it, especially knowing it's an unpaid and thankless job.
Yeah, I want
Thank
to
you, Lynn.
thank you,
Thanks.
Lynn. I want to speak to that a little bit. Dave Edwards, our board president, is spending hours a week on this, and it's more than a part-time job for Dave. He's been spending nights, weekends, evenings talking to owners, negotiating contracts. He's saved us thousands of dollars as owners with his work, with his good work and the things that he's been
Thanks,
doing.
Tucker.
He didn't ask me to
Appreciate
say that, but I think you should know. All the board has been working hard. Dave Edwards especially so.
Thanks, Tucker. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
Next question. What do we got?
We don't have anything else right now. We're all caught up.
Let's go through a couple of things just on our slides. A reminder, if you paid your special assessment prior to April, the end of April last year, you will be refunded those special assessment amounts. That's right off the top before we do any distribution to any owner. That will happen.
It's important to us that you know that was a very difficult decision to utilize money that we asked, money that I put in, that Tucker put in, that Dave put in, and all of us as owners put in to try to renovate the resort. When we had the rug pulled out from under us, we had asked you to support us as an association in moving forward with renovation. We asked you to spend money, and then we had to use that money for something else. That wasn't easy a decision. That's why when we decided to do that, we committed that if we moved to sell the resort, that money would get refunded. That commitment hasn't changed. However, as we went through that process and we started to have to expend for collections and attorney's fees and everything else, trying to collect money on special assessment, those who became in arrears, I can't remember what the date was, we voted that was stopped. We gave you all this time to come current, and the money would be, and even the money that you paid in special assessment, if you initially were up to 90 days late, would have all been refunded back to you. If you come current now, that money is not refunded to you because of the time, effort, and expenses of trying to collect and go into collections, including lawsuits that have been filed, all those kinds of things, trying to collect money.
You should know as this moves along, right now we have not started any collection actions other than these meetings asking you to pay and asking you to deed back your resort. But the time is swiftly approaching where those things will start to happen. We want to give people as much as a chance because we're owners like everyone ours is we don't want to send anybody to collections and we don't want to foreclose on anybody. What we want is the week back. That's our main goal. We'd rather have you pay and be part of us, but the second best thing is to get the week back and avoid the cost and expense for the board and any potential damage to credit. We'd rather not do that if we could.
I've mentioned this before, and forgive me for coming back to say this again, but even as you start to look and we don't have money and there's owners in arrears, it's very easy to get judgy or judgmental and start to, why haven't they paid, or those kinds of things run through that mentally until you get on the phone with people and you listen to some of the circumstances they're in that have caused them to become in arrears. These people have been great owners for 25 years and paying and enjoying the mountain just like you and I, and they are just you and I, but they had some catastrophe in their family, different things, lost a spouse, different stories. There are a lot of reasons that people
fixed income.
Yeah, different things that they aged out to fixed income and it became too difficult to make the payment. It's pretty heart-rending. We want you to know we do not look forward to having to collect or foreclose. These are just you and I as owners, and they're owners in arrears. We're literally pleading with people, just give us the time week back so we don't have to foreclose on you. We don't have to impact your credit with a foreclosure on your credit, all those things that happen when all that occurs. There's certainly no anger at somebody that hasn't paid anything else. We have no choice. This is how it has to happen to get the titles that we need. And we certainly aren't judging you if you're behind or anything else. This is just where we find ourselves sort of executing the process to make it happen. And it's certainly not pleasant to be in that role. But we do want even people that are behind, and we understand, we're certainly not judging. We just don't have a choice but to pursue and get the property back for the resort and get the money owed to the resort, either that or the property back in our possession, so we can change hands. So, does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want to speak a little bit in doing the title research. we're finding there's a lot of things to fix. Lots of deeds that were incorrectly recorded, incorrectly prepared. That as we move forward, you'll hear from us about the things that we need to do to fix it. Some of it can be fixed by ourselves, like by the owner themselves. Others, we're going to try and contact prior owners to get corrective actions, and then others still, we're going to have to get some help from the courts to perfect the titles or to fix those problems. Another couple of things as we move through, you're considered behind again if you haven't made your maintenance fees, or like we talked about with the special assessment, and this goes through the interest that's being charged currently at $2,800. That's about $645 a year in interest that's accruing. We have sufficient operational expenses for now. We're looking forward to getting the property sold so we can move forward on getting people their money. That's going to be the next step. Here's a few options for your owner, for our owners. If you're delinquent, you'd like to deed back the property to the association. Again, we'll put up the email addresses to be able to do that. If you're current and you just want to be done, you don't want to wait it out, you can also deed back. We'll do a voluntary deed transfer agreement. In that agreement, you will still be refunded your special assessment. You can just say, I want my special assessment done, and I don't want to be part of this anymore. If you are an owner who is current and you want to stick with us till the final sale and participate in whatever distribution there is, by like how Dave described a little earlier, that's wonderful. Again, from us, interval owners or weak owners who we can't contact and get deeds in lieu, we're going to have to do foreclosures. Again, here's how to contact the association for billing questions, also for title transfer questions. That powderridgedeeds@gmail.com comes to me. I'm Mr. Powder Ridge Deeds. Again, I'll respond to you. Especially, please contact us there if you want to do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. There's our PO box and our account payable question. Again, we've opened a PO box in Bountiful. Dave and I check that PO box pretty regularly to see that mail that's coming in. We'd also appreciate an email saying, "Hey, look for this. It's on its way." Yeah.
All right.
Any more questions from anybody?
No, there's nothing else in the text chat right now or in the chat. So I think we've answered all the questions.
As we're kind of at a little bit of a lull here for just a second, I would like to throw out some thank yous to a couple of people who've done just a lot of work and continue to work to support the board. Our owner advisory committee, which is Kathy Coco. She's been just amazing with helping us to manage the communications of the resort, manage the website, manage our email and Facebook, and to trying to keep a good information flow back and forth.
And also answering owner account questions like, how do I know how much I'm behind? Kathy has been answering those questions as well and has done a marvelous job.
Right. And she's putting a team together, as you know, that we're asking for volunteers to help us contact owners to work on getting these documents back, because it's simply the expense of doing it through a corporate entity is very expensive. We've had some help from some volunteers already willing to work with Kathy. It's exciting what they do. And then needed to throw out some thank yous to Kathy and Gary. Kathy Hillstead continues to support the resort. She gets a lot of phone calls from owners to this day asking about what's going on, because she's been she's who we've primarily known as the manager for all these years, up until the last 8 months of the resort, 9 months of the resort. But she continues to go up the mountain to deal with owner requests. We had a lot of property at the resort that was stored, and Kathy and Gary went up there and took care of those things, meeting owners. They also helped us facilitate snow removal this year, which, if you remember, we had to keep snow removed, not because we were up there trying to park and stay at the resort, but because we're required to for fire access for the resort. And they did a great job of coordinating that and saving us a lot of money in being able to make that happen. They still are very active in sort of advising the board at times when we have a question or historical questions. We're looking at contracts and and different pieces of this. They've just been great to continue to support us throughout. I also had a conversation with Laura Guthrie, who is the final manager before we closed, and again, she was great to just help me work on some accounts that she had information about, and help us and continue to help us. And we want to thank her as well. Do we have any other questions?
We do. We have one more question that's come in. When will you be able to share the appraisal amount? Are you currently in negotiations with potential purchasers? How many?
What can we share there?
Oh, boy, that's
Yes.
that's a great question.
Yes, that's the answer.
Yeah.
Meaning we're in NDAs with groups that we originally told you we were reaching out to, that we have NDAs with. We are actively reviewing offers, pursuing a sale, but that's about all we can tell you. Until there's still a potential that we would end up going at some point in this process out to open market if we can't get where we need to get with the potential owners that we're communicating with, the potential buyers that we're communicating with right now. So another way to answer that would be to say we're giving you what we can, and it's very little right now, and we know it. Just know that we're bound by non-disclosure agreements and what the attorneys are telling us. As far as the appraisal prices and things, at some point all that will be available, I assume, to everyone as we complete the processes out, so we'll know where those things were. But for right now, it's beneficial to us as owners to keep those numbers close to our vest if we're going out to market, those kinds of things. And we'll continue to, like I say, the numbers will be there for you to see at some point. It just won't be right now.
We have another question. So is there the option for people to buy in as a group?
Buy into?
I assume to purchase the resort as a group?
I guess. I'm not sure if they're talking about individual units to buy weeks, or if they're talking about buying.
Buying weeks is not, we're not selling weeks from the resort right now.
No, and I guess the other side would be, can people still make offers? It said yes. So after people still buying as a group, yes.
Several of you probably saw an
The
email.
group to buy out a whole. So can someone now purchase the resort? Is there an option for a group to come in and buy the resort?
That's where we've been. If you remember, we were looking at how to sell the resort. We know that we have some exigence in trying to sell the resort, meaning we cannot run out of money. We need to move quickly to sell the resort. We'd had some groups reach out to us that were interested in the resort. So when we hired a real estate agent, we negotiated a very low commission that if we brought owners to the table,
Or buyers to the table.
sorry, I keep
The owners.
probably confusing you. If we brought potential buyers to the negotiations who had communicated directly with us prior to the hiring of the real estate agent, we're paying him a very small amount versus the traditional commission that the real estate agent would get of 6% of the sale. So we potentially, with the sale of the property, you'd save us hundreds of thousands of dollars just by starting here with people who are already communicating with us. The other piece of that exigence is we don't want to run out of money, and the going to open market was a longer process. So right now, we've been communicating with these groups that had originally contacted us. We have not gone out to open market yet, and we're evaluating the communications with those people right now. That's where we are. But good
I think
description.
that's a great way to do
There's
that.
still a potential that if none of this works out, that we could go to open market, but right now, that's where we're focused.
Yeah. The question was, thank you for clarifying, Mike. Is there an option for an owners group to purchase the resort? I think that, sure.
Yeah, I don't even know how to go back and go that direction, because there are owners groups out there
There's
that were
yeah.
publicly seeking support. I would direct you to them.
Yep. That's a great question. I think we're about done with our town hall. We don't see any more questions on the chat. We'll wait for a minute or two, but again, thank you to all the owners for your patience. We're committed to being more open and communicative. We'll schedule another one of these when there's more to tell you.
We'll try to keep that cadence once a month. Probably, I think our last one was on the 19th of March, where we'll try to be the end of May, And we also will know that we need to be scheduling an annual owners meeting, as we're required to do by our bylaws and our covenants. And if you remember, we delayed that last year because of we didn't know where we were. We didn't know if we were going to be able to negotiate something with the owners, or if we were going to have to close the resort. We really didn't know where things stood. We delayed that meeting until we could bring you some good information and come together to make some decisions. We'll be scheduling that. However, you will not be getting a mailer. You won't be getting something mailed to you. If you haven't given us your email and haven't communicated us with any other way, the only way we will reach out for those notifications of the owners meeting, the annual owners meeting, will be by email. So please, if you don't think we have your personal information correct, or they don't know if we have it recorded, please email the Powder Ridge Village UT at gmail.com and confirm that we have the correct information to contact you, so you're getting noticed. And I think everybody on here must be, because you're getting our emails about these events.
Yeah.
These types of meetings.
Mike gave us a comment, and it's a good comment. Can you give us a little bit more advance notice about these meetings? And yeah, that's something we need to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving pieces, and we wanted to be able to wait to give you the best answer. So we wanted to get some answers before we had our next meeting, but that's a fair comment and something that should be expected, Mike. Thank you for that.
And Don and Mike also say thanks for all we're doing, and you're welcome. And thank you, Dave and Tucker, because really you two are doing the bulk of the heavy lifting right now. So thank you for myself and Jamie,
Thanks,
Grant,
guys.
and the rest of the owners. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate
Thank you. Well, everybody, I think we're going to end our stream. This will be on this YouTube channel. You'll be able to go back and do it. We'll have Kathy, who's, again, wonderful, just share the link on our Facebook page and hopefully on our website as well. Other than that, thanks, everyone. We really do appreciate all of your support.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody.